at Form, New Hampshire. My name is Dean. This is Richie to my right. We're getting a little bit of a late start today. We had a little technical difficulties here in the studio, but we are up and going and ready to roll. So Richie and I are concerned about the direction of our country, so we're sharing news and information with you that will help educate and inform you, the people of New Hampshire, as well as the people of the U.S., about the hidden history and the hidden agenda of the globalists, the international banking cartel, the international crime syndicate known as the bankers. So that's what we're doing. And so before we get started, let's just have a little word about Jerry
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Jerry is obviously still back in jail. Not still back in jail, still in jail. And Danvers, I haven't spoken to Sue in a while, so I'm assuming he's back there. But we'd like to continue to ask for your help and your prayers. If you can see it in your heart to send money to Jerry's Legal Defense Fund, please send it to freejerrydelemus.com. Contribute what you can, and I know they'd appreciate it. Keep them in your prayers, too. Just a little editorial note here. In my humble opinion, I happen to think that the house of cards in this country is going to be coming down piece by piece, and shortly it'll start. It probably already has, but with any luck, things will clear up quickly for people in America. We need everybody's help to do that. And with that, I'd like to ask that you check out the nationallibertyalliance.org. Regardless of what people say, you know, they're good, they're bad, or they're indifferent, they're the only organization out there I see that's trying to lawfully and peacefully bring back the republic for the people of America, and that's very important to do. So with that, sign up for the National Liberty Alliance, go on the Monday night phone call, and for the 2 or 3 people that I've attempted to call who recently signed up, please get back in touch with me. Email me, the number's on the screen here if you're watching it, but get back in touch with me. I left you a message on your phone, and hopefully you'll get back to me at that time. With that, I'll turn it back to Dean.
Thank you, Richie. I'm going to have to second your notion that we are headed for tough times, pretty much on schedule as the globalists have arranged for us. 2018 will probably be one of the most difficult years for our country since the Civil War. So, we have a rough future ahead to look forward to. There is a lot of hope in that there is a lot of people resisting this designed collapse and this takedown of our country. And there is a lot of winning on our side being what we might call the white hat side, or the good people of the earth. So we are fighting back, and we do require people like you to stand up and participate, resist, and be informed about what's going on. Your currency is already in the process of collapsing, and it's a fake currency anyway. It's fiat, and it's designed to collapse very soon. I know Trump's working hard to prevent that and possibly to replace it with a treasury dollar of some sort, maybe. Not sure what's going on there, but that's some of the rumors I hear. So,
Let me just jump in
yeah,
for a minute.
go ahead.
As rough as the next 15 months may or may not be, I think it'll be easy for each and every one of us if we all participate in getting our country back. And if you want to experience true freedom, not what we're living under now, because you may think it's true freedom. What I'm talking about is not having to pay real estate tax to the government for a house that you allegedly own, not having to pay an income tax on your wages, okay, your time and your labor, because that's not income.
Unconstitutional.
Right. Bringing us back to where freedom is freedom, and you are a private person, not a public entity that the government has created. And I'm not going to get into great detail with that, but the more you learn about this, and you can find out, we played a video, I think, a couple of weeks ago, Meet Your Straw Man. Go on YouTube and check it out. That's a start. That's a start. If you start understanding this stuff, it'll help you better. We're all in this fight together, and we're all Americans. It's not, Dean mentioned the white hats. I like to refer to us just as simply Americans, because I don't have a political affiliation. I hate Democrats and Republicans. Can't say I discriminate.
You hate the party organizations.
Yes, that's what I mean. I don't mean the people individually, but you can think what you want to think because your opinion is just that, your opinion. And if we don't respect one another's opinion, we're not going to be surviving this country very well. I respect everybody's opinion, but I respect the Constitution even more, and I'm getting back to it if I can. So that enough said with that.
All right, so today we want to talk about one of the asymmetrical warfare tactics of this overreaching global oligarchy that has conquered our country and loves to write white papers and brag about it and talk about how we're chattel or goyim or whatever they want to say. So one of their technology surveillance system as well as biological warfare systems is the smart meter program, as well as the next generation cell phone technology called the 5G network. Most of you are on a 3G or 4G network of communication with cell phones and cell phone towers, and the new 5G is coming out. So the smart meters are something the government's been putting out for a while, and they're forcing people onto it. And what we're finding is that it's having an impact on people's health. Some people, a percentage of people, have violent reactions biologically to these smart meters, and some of the stories are just horrific about how the local governments and communities just don't give a damn, and they want to just impose their will on everyone, even at the expense of someone's health and well-being, for whatever their agenda is. And oftentimes, I think a lot of these people don't even know the overall agenda. They're just little minions that are operating, and in an effort to either climb the power ladder or to take the bribes that might enhance their lives a little bit for a short term. So what we'll start out with today is Richie found this video of one of our favorite YouTube speakers named Jerry Day, and we've used Jerry Day on the show before. He usually talks about some of the things we love to talk about with regards to the Fed or the government and things like that. But this is a little 5-minute clip from Jerry Day talking about the smart meters. So we'll just get started with that right now.
Now entering the brave new world of smart meters. That means your electric meter will do so much more than just show how much electricity you use. The new smart meters are watching you. They sense all kinds of goings on. They see when you turn something on or off. They see how many watts your electric toothbrush pulls. They send the record of that little event over wireless networks, bouncing through your neighbor's smart meters all the way to the power company, where they keep record of all your electric consumption volumes and patterns every minute of every day, and store that data forever on computers that you'll never get to see. That data shows when you are at home, shows when you're sleeping, shows when you're on vacation, when you have visitors, when you use a lamp, a power tool, some extra computers, and if you look like you're running a business out of your home. It even senses when you bootleg energy off the grid. Your smart meter data shows a vivid profile of your personal living patterns and whether or not you were at home on the night of the murder. This is not electrical metering. This is personal surveillance. This is a search without a warrant every day. This is your personal private life going straight out through your electric meter to the power company, to the government, to the police, to the insurance company, to anyone who cuts a deal with your power company to look at your life under a microscope. Sorry, it's actually worse than that. People who don't cut a deal can get your information too by simply intercepting the wireless signal spewing from the side of your house. Yes, smart meters are radio transmitters. Here's how you tell. This one is a 1-watt radio station licensed by the FCC. On this all-news radio station, every detail of your electrical life is shooting off to some institutional data center somewhere. Already, the police in Ohio, Texas, British Columbia, and places I don't know about are regularly using smart meter data to pinpoint marijuana grow houses, enforce business licenses, and punish people for doing things in the privacy of their own homes that you were not supposed to do, but they wouldn't even know you were doing if they weren't spying on you. Your power company apparently gets to sell your personal life story to whomever it wants. Any unusual power consumption pattern is considered probable cause to raid you for growing marijuana or running a computer server without a business license. This is about as big brother as it gets. Those friendly men with their truckload of smart meters are going door to door with something a little different than a Christmas carol. My personal opinion is that you and I need to demand that these things be taken off our homes. It is not possible for your power company to claim they have the right to install a surveillance device on your house. Smart meters are no different from wiretapping devices. And in case you didn't know, wiretapping is illegal in all 50 of the states and the federal territories. If you let your power company put a smart meter on your house, you may as well walk around all day with a Facebook helmet webcam pointed at yourself. They have convinced themselves installing smart meters is lawful by some reaching to the moon jive called implied consent. If you say they can change your meter, they pretend you consent even when you don't know really what they're doing. Here's a tip. Tell them they can't change your meter. They had no trouble billing you with the old meter. If you send them a notice by certified mail that they may not install a smart meter or any other surveillance device on your house, their implied consent goes out the window. I would do that if I were you. In fact, I did that, and I'm not even you. You can see a copy of my letter in the drop-down next to this video. You can copy and paste that into your word processor. Make sure and change the info into your own info. The post office will give you the certified mail slip. Those friendly guys on the sidewalk told me that they plan to put a smart meter on every house in America. If they do that, it will no longer be America.
Alrighty.
Stop right.
There you have it.
Question for you, man. Do you know what
Surveillance,
the number one killer of testosterone?
Surveillance Grid USA. What do you think, Richie? You want to get a smart meter for your house?
Oh, I don't want to get two of them. Yeah, no, the last thing I need is the surveillance equipment from the power company. But we put that on because Jerry Day is, hate to admit it, but he's much better spokesperson than we are. We admire, both me and Dean admire him greatly for the work he's done. But it's so true about, we accept things. We've been doing this our whole life. He said, you got to do this. Oh, okay. I got to ask you, why would you allow the electric company to put a meter on your house? Even, this is just a hypothetical because I'm not suggesting anybody do anything, but what would be wrong with putting the meter on the telephone pole as opposed to your house? You'd still meter the electricity that you're using because it's going from the pole to your house. Whatever's used is used. So for them to say that, but we've been so conditioned to do, okay, you can do this, you can do that, everything. I can come in your house and read your meter. I can come in your house and if you have gas, I got to do that. If you live in the city, I'm talking about now. Everything. We just comply with them. When you got to start pushing back and you got to start telling them no. These surveillance devices are crazy. And on top of that, I was kind of naive about these things myself. Excuse me. But what I discovered today, it was a guy on a documentary I was watching, and he was metering every device in the kitchen. And he showed the back of a refrigerator, and he said, this thing, it's spiking, it's going off the scale. Now, I don't know what it was measured for, and he didn't elaborate. I wish he had. I don't know what it was going past 100, spiking at. I don't know if that was 100 gigahertz or whatever. I'm not sure about that. But he said if you are sleeping every night on the other side of the wall and your headboard is up against that wall and the refrigerator is on the other side of that wall, you're exposing yourself to radiation. Radiation levels that you're not even aware of. And it's going into your head, which, if you know, we got electronic pulses in our body coming from our brains. And those can be interfered with. That's how we get tumors and whatnot. At least this is what they're saying. What I'm suggesting to people is don't be so quick to accept what people tell you. and look into it a little more. There are people on the internet like Jerry, and I wish I tried with Dean to track down this other one today. It's a black gentleman up in Canada, and I think his name is, oh boy, I don't even want to tell you because I can't remember it, Hal something or other. And he was talking about, I think it's Power One or One Power or On Power, something to that effect. I'm sorry I can't be of more help with you. I couldn't find it myself, short notice. But he tells you how to deal with the power companies. And the way he does it is simply to say, okay, if you're going to put this on my house and the one that you have there is not sufficient, then I'd like to charge you $10,000 a day to have it put on my house. And they go away quickly.
So I have a question. I have a question for you. Did you consent to having your life surveilled 100% of the time, 24/7 for the rest of your life? Did you say, okay, yeah, put a smart meter on my house so that you can catalog everything that I do for the rest of my life, and everyone I visit, everyone I talk to, every little behavior, what happens in my house and all that? You probably didn't. Did you imply consent somehow? No. Well, that's what they're claiming. They're claiming that you did. And really, the reason they're claiming that is because they know that, number one, most of Americans are ignorant, and number two, most Americans are busy, asleep, and doing whatever they're doing to survive. And I'm sure there's 3 or 4 more others there that I'm not going to mention.
Well, I'll jump in on the consent thing, Dean, because I'd like to follow that through. In order for there to be implied consent, they're saying that because you're consenting to a contract. Here's the thing that really gets me, and it always has gotten me, is in order for there to be a contract, and this is a major factor, there has to be full disclosure. They're not telling you that this electronic device that they're going to put in your house emits harmful radiation. They're not telling you that this device is a surveillance device, which it is. If
We
it
are now-
measures how long it takes for you to brush your teeth, blow dry your hair, cook a meal, and then when you leave in the morning, the last thing you do is turn off the light when you're leaving, and there's a flat line on your house, then the electric company and or the government, they're one and the same, know that you're not in the home. Is that a good security risk for you? Somebody knows you're not at home. What if they rob your house? I'm not saying they are, but what if they robbed your house? What if there's some type of a criminal network and they call up somebody and says, yeah, these people are not home. They live at such and such an address. All of these things, you can say, this guy's crazy, conspiracy theorist, he wears a tinfoil hat, whatever you want to say. These things do happen occasionally. And that's all I'm trying to make you aware of, is that full disclosure means just that, full disclosure. And they're not providing you with that.
So let me go over a few of these headlines regarding smart meters. Power takeover. What's wrong with smart meters? Question mark. On January 17th, 2008, you'll remember when Obama was elected the president, one of his quotes was to say that under my plan, a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. It's now becoming evident that the new so-called smart meter your utility is attempting to force on you is the culprit technology for the government-sponsored extortion Obama was referring to. But this is just the beginning of a hornet's nest of alarming details unveiled in our new documentary, Take Back Your Power. That's a quote prior to this article. Here's the article. In a time of economic crisis, the U.S. government allocated $11 billion of your money, taxpayer funds, from the 2009 bailout package to develop a smart grid, including smart meters for every home's electricity, gas, and water. So, just as a clue here, the electric companies didn't come up with this idea that they needed smart meters, nor are they funding smart meters to be put on your house. So the local electric companies, they have nothing to do with it. This is a federal government-sponsored electronic surveillance system that is being paid for and funded by them. The technology came from them, and it's being handed over to the electric companies, and it's being mandated that the electric companies put these meters on your house. And recently, the European Union has announced plans to blow a mind-numbing $700 billion on building out this centralized control grid. The ostensible reason for smart metering and grid technology: A, to save energy and thus aid the environment; B, to increase power reliability; and C, to give you more control of energy use in your own home.
I got two things to say, but did you just say that the government is gonna put out that money, $700 billion?
That was the
power
the
company.
European Union is allocating, announced plans to blow a mind-blowing $700 billion.
So it's the government.
Well, the European Union.
That's the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are they doing that for the power company? I thought they were a separate entity.
No, they're not.
I did want to mention very, very briefly that the smart meter is a brand name, Smart. They're electronic meters, and the only reason I mention it is if someone comes to you and you don't see the word smart meter on it, but it's an electronic meter, then don't have it put on your house. Go back to the boy, why can't I think of the name? Not the digital, the analog meter, excuse me.
You know, I told never mind, I won't say that. We ended up with one put on the house in Manchester. All right, let's go on a little bit here. Clear evidence of health damage. Tens of thousands of individuals are reporting officially to governments and utilities that they are experiencing illness or functional impairments following the installation of smart meters. Reported symptoms include headaches, sleep problems, ear ringing, focus difficulties, fatigue, heart palpitations, nausea, and statistically abnormal recurrences of cancer. According to court-ordered documentation and independent testing, utilities have been proven to be lying about how often smart meters transmit bursts of microwave radiation. Depending on the utility, their claim is typically something like 4 to 6 times per day. Pepco, or 45 to 60 seconds per day, P&G. Whereas courts and independent testing reveal that meters are transmitting in the range of 10,000 to 190,000 pulses of microwave transmissions per day. The amount of transmitted microwave radiation has been measured up to 200 times greater, if one is standing next to the meter, than the building biology standard threshold for extreme concern. So the radiation standards set by national agencies such as the FCC are literally thousands of times higher than science-based levels, because they actually assume that harm can only be done by electromagnetic radiation, EMR, if cells heat up by a certain amount. This is called a thermal effect. The reality is that more than 6,000 peer-reviewed published studies have indicated functional impairment, symptoms of illness or disease, non-thermal effects, from levels of EMR as much as 10,000 times lower than safety standards set by organizations such as the FCC, Health Canada, ICNIRP. But health effects don't end with the pulse microwave radiation from the meters all future smart appliances under this multinational plan of total control. Every smart meter, digital electronic meter, is what known as switching mode power supply, which is proven to directly create large amounts of dirty electricity or high-frequency energy radiation throughout your home's electrical circuits, essentially creating an antenna cage. The levels of DE caused by smart meters can be several hundred times higher than some institutional safety standards. When confronted, one government agent would not talk about this on his work phone, but confirmed the awareness and concern of the DE health hazards in a private call. And this goes on and on. Anything you want to say, Richie?
Yeah, I was just watching a physicist in England talking about, he went to see his doctor for a visit and everything was fine, and as he was leaving the doctor's office, the doctor said to him, "Hey, you're a physicist, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And he says, "Let me ask you a question." He said, "I've got a situation where a 5-year-old child died, and they call it cot death over there as opposed to crib death. But he said there was a cot death of a little boy. The parents ended up moving out of the house. Another family came in, and they, as it turns out, they set up the crib or the baby's bed in the exact same location, and the boy died. Again, there was another cot death. And they said, "What's the story?" And he says, "Let me check it out, investigate it." And he did. He discovered that right on the other side of the wall, on the outside of the house, was the smart meter. And that is what caused the deaths of those 2 kids. So if you don't think, and this isn't designed to scare people, but...
Or it is.
Well, yeah, but I don't mean it in an alarming way. Take action and do something about it. You don't have to go storming out of the house and, act crazy. Just take action
Hammer
to
your
protect
smart meter.
yourself. Yeah.
Start hammering it, right?
No, I think they said don't do that, but
Yeah. Here's an interesting tidbit.
go ahead.
In addition, Richie, is many reports there are now well over 1,000 home fires linked to smart meters, and tens of thousands have experienced other appliances breakage in their home. Incredulously, almost none of these meters, made mostly in China, have been tested or approved by underwriter laboratories or an equivalent standards body. Thus, the homeowner has no guarantee of coverage and is often left to deal with the damage and expense of the repair. So what's being pointed out here is that in the United States, when you have any type of appliance, it has to go through extensive
Testing.
review and testing by underwriter laboratories. And at that point, it gets a stamp of approval by underwriter laboratories. And your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover appliances that are not approved by underwriter laboratories, because that could be just any device that you might even create yourself, but it's not approved by underwriter laboratories, so you can't make a claim against that type of fire. So of course these scumbags in government are shoving these meters into your homes, and they're creating massive fires there was one article where a whole bunch of fires broke out at one time. But of course you're going to have to foot the bill. They're not going to do anything about it because they didn't put these meters through the testing program that makes sure that they're safe and sound and are capable of ongoing function in your home without causing a hazard or a fire.
Yeah, just two other things in conjunction with that. The electronic meters, I'll call them electronic meters rather than the brand name, but the electronic meters that they put in your house are not grounded. The analog meters are. The bad part about this whole thing, other than the radiation and the surveillance and half of a dozen other things, if your house catches on fire with an electronic meter, the insurance company won't cover you. They'll tell you, hey, this wasn't grounded, wasn't properly done. Well, they're buying these things, like Dean said, from over in China, where they don't give a damn. They just, here you are, this is the requirements you told us to make, or the specs that so they make them like that. But it's not ground. If it's not ground, then it's not safe. Your house catches on fire, you go to put the insurance in, you're not covered. So all of these horror stories are coming out now, and I would encourage people to at least look into it. There are people on the internet, solutions for the smart meter or the electronic meters. Don't take them. It's your house. Don't take them. Regardless of what anyone says, your life or your family's life can be in jeopardy. So please check this out.
All right, thank you, Richie. Smart spy state. As if all this wasn't enough, smart meters in combination with smart appliances, also chronically transmitting low-level microwave radiation, are functionally designed to collect swaths of in-home private data on everyone. According to a U.S. Congressional Research Service report, police will have access to data that might be used to track residents' daily lives and routines while in their homes, including their sleeping, eating, and showering habits, what appliances they use, and when and whether they prefer the television or the treadmill, among a host of other details. But it gets worse. Utilities and public utility commissions, such as California PUC, are actually encouraging the sale of this private data, everything you do in your home, to third-party corporate interests for a profit. So guess what? All your personal habits are being sold for personal or for corporate profit to anyone that's willing to buy it. And incredulously, even former CIA Director David Petraeus boasts in Wired magazine, March 2012, that government will be routinely spying through their smart appliances. Thus, with CISPA's focus on legalizing private data transfer deals for corporations to government agencies, the primary motivation behind the push for such legislation starts to become clear. And not only would every detail of your life be tracked, but your access to electricity would be totally controlled. Your appliances or entire home would be shut down at any time without notice by any utility or government agency, or as former CIA Director James Woosley states, a hacker on a cell phone in China. Newsflash, the NSA phone spying scandal is just the tip of the globalist iceberg. Remember, the international globalist crime syndicate, the banking cartel, the Khazarian Mafia, the Illuminati, the CFR. Those are the folks that are taking down this country and experimenting on us from the beginning as a slave state. And their greatest goal and their greatest satisfaction is to put a society into a slave state and have that society not only not be aware of it, but to choose their enslavement. And that's what's happened to this country. The wealth of this country would be 100 times what it is today, and the health would be, our health would be perfect. Our health would, and the technology is there now for near perfect health throughout the country. But how is it that everything has gotten worse? Our dollar we spend less, has less spending power. Our health in so many areas is at epidemic levels, and we all just look on, and then we run around our little pink shirts and sneakers and raise money for the very people that are keeping the system in place that is destroying our lives. It's psycho crazy that we're doing that, and we really need to wake up and grow up. Go ahead, Richie. Anything?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not enough that the NSA monitors your phone calls, your cell phone calls, your texts, your emails, and whatever the hell else we do electronically. Now they want to put smart meters on your house so they can monitor how much electricity you use and when you use it. And not just, measured volume, but incrementally. How long do you cook breakfast? Do you use the tea kettle on the stove to heat your coffee? Do you have a little hot shot? Any number of things. How much electricity do you use? How much do you use for lunch? Are you there for lunch? Any number of things, and the whole thing is just designed to spy on you. But also they sell that information, like Dean said. They sell it to other corporations so they can market you. It's just crazy because you're going to be put inside of a little box and compartmentalized so small, you're going to be insignificant. You're going to be chattel. Well, we already are chattel, but it's going to get worse.
The rising tide of awakening in the world. This is the first time in known history that either governments or corporations are attempting to force a device on the entire populations, which has been openly proven to cause direct harm to health, rights, security, and property. And this agenda rips apart the 4th, 5th, and 10th Amendments of the Constitution. The installation of smart meters is either underway or planned in virtually all Western countries, despite existing foundational laws which have heretofore served as protection for the people. It does, in fact, appear that the corrupted powers that be are truly going for broke on this one. However, as documented in Take Back Your Power, there is a growing widespread awareness and resistance to this anti-freedom, anti-life program. Hundreds of local governments have issued a moratorium on the installation of smart meters, and in California alone, 15 councils have criminalized the installations. Several, such as Sebastopol, have additionally issued an ordinance fining PG&E $500 fine per installation meter in their city. But PG&E and other utilities around the world are still not backing down. In almost all regions where people are beginning to rise up to their feet, utilities are moving toward an extortive opt-out program, charging customers through the nose for the privilege of not being microwaved or surveilled in their home. Last week, the rogue British Columbian government floated the idea to more than 60,000 holdouts to pay them an initial fee of $100 and then pay them an ongoing fee of $35 per month just to keep their analog meter. According to some legal experts we interviewed, the trick is to realize that it is just a poker game.
Yeah, just a
Sick,
poker
isn't it?
game.
Oh, God.
Well, there was a woman who refused the electronic meter, and she went back and forth with the power company for a little while, and I don't recall where she lived. Apologize for that, but went back and forth for a little while. The power company ultimately came down and shut her electricity off. Now, she never refused to pay for her electricity, and she had a meter on there. She had the analog meter on there. She just refused the smart meter. They came down and shut her electricity off. Now, if that isn't gangster-style tactics, please tell me what is. You will either take this or else. You're not refusing to pay for the electricity. You're just refusing to have this electronic meter put in there. So you don't have to be surveilled. You don't have to be bombarded with harmful radiation. And God knows what else. It's just bizarre. But find out what you can do before it happens to you. And I have no idea, I don't know if Dean does, I don't know where they're at in this country with, do they have 50% of the country done, 20%, 100%? I really don't know that. But if you don't have a smart meter, investigate it now and be prepared for when it happens.
So just the end of this article is, there is no law requiring you to accept a so-called smart meter on your home or participate in extortion, even though the utilities and governments are intimidating people into believing they have no choice. Strangely enough, paying criminals to minimize the harm they are doing does not sit well with most people. Legal action and claim of right processes against installations are sprouting up and becoming almost ubiquitous. In many local governments that are still not listening to the people, individual councilors and mayors are now beginning to be on the receiving end of civil and criminal litigation and processes based in contract law, as one rights group put it. So that is fantastic. People standing up and holding the politicians accountable and suing them criminally, personally, is like the greatest thing you could do to take back your government, take back your life, take back control of your communities. And we used to be able to do that very easily with common law courts and common law grand juries. But they took that away from us, and they kept us in this illusion that our recourse, our remedy, was simply to vote someone else into office, which they control anyway. They control the voting systems, they control the number of people and who gets to go in, and they control the money that flows into it. So there is very little opportunity to affect change, certainly in a short amount of time, and very difficult over a long period of time, without a total uprising. And of course, a total uprising is going to affect change in other ways anyway, not through the voting system. So we have no recourse, we have no remedy. But for a few that are taking up legal action against these perpetrators, these criminal politicians who are ignoring your health, your wealth, and your well-being in order to perpetrate an agenda that's being shoved down their throat and down your throat by the United Nations and the Council on Foreign Relations and wherever else these think tanks pop up to control your life and to dominate your country. That's what's happening. And thank God people are starting to stand up, and it's time for you to wake up and stand up as well. Richie?
I just wanted to add that as far as the court system goes, Dean is exactly right. The remedy in law for the people of the United States of America is the common law in the court of record, common law grand jury system, which belongs to the people. It's basically the fourth branch of government. But the point I wanted to make here is that in some parts of the country, and this has been documented, people who are refusing these smart meters will take it to court, and the judge will rule in the favor of the power company because the judge has stock in that power company. He doesn't want to interfere with his profits. That's how crazy our corporate system has become. The judges don't even adhere to the law. They adhere to their pocketbook. It's more important to put money in my pocket than it is to have justice. So you have to be vigilant about keeping this up. Don't be afraid to fight. Don't be afraid to stand up. And I don't mean, you don't have to get mad. You don't have to swing a baseball bat or shoot a gun or any of that stuff. Just stand up for your rights. They're your rights. Yours. Not the government's. God gave them to you. The right to speak, the right to stand up. Not the government. They're going to fall. The government's going to fall, and I don't mean that it's going to be overthrown. I mean the corrupt people in our government are going to go away. One way or another, they're going to go away. It's incumbent upon you to join a lot of other people that are speaking out to make that happen.
All right, here's a great headline. Hundreds of smart meters simultaneously explode. The utilities lied when they said smart meters or AMI meters would make the electricity grid resilient and self-healing. Nothing can be further from the truth, and this latest episode is more proof that the failure of smart metering programs everywhere. On Monday, hundreds of smart meters simultaneously exploded in Stockton, California, when a truck ran into a utility pole. Video to watch. The catastrophic failure of these non-underwriter laboratory approved PG&E, that's PG&E is Pacific
Gas and Electric
down in California. All right, the catastrophic failure of these non-underwriter laboratory approved PG&E smart meters not only damaged meter bases and other homeowner property, but left over 5,800 customers without power. Did you hear about that in the mainstream media? No, because it's part of the agenda, and they're part of the agenda control grid. That's right. When these plastic modernized meters fail, they shut off your power. CBS News reported that neighbors in the southern Stockton area described it as a large pop, a bomb going off, and strong enough to shake a house. Last July, the province of Saskatchewan, I can't say that word, ordered the removal of all 105,000 smart meters following a string of fires in Portland, Oregon, Lakeland, Florida, Arizona, and Ontario followed suits with mass removals. See?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan, thank you.
I was trying to think of it.
Quebec firefighters are up in arms that Hydro-Quebec agents have actually been prematurely removing smart meters from fire scenes prior to investigation. The total number of separate incidents of fires and explosions caused by smart meters is now very likely to be numbered in the thousands. In addition to the ongoing stream of incendiary events, so named smart meter programs. Oh, shoot. That got cut off. Here's another one, though. Smart meters. We can monitor everything you do in your home. Although smart meters are promoted as energy efficient components, the actual limit intent of these meters is to track your use of energy in the real time across every 24-hour period, which will allow the provider to bill you for that period at the highest energy rate for the day. That's interesting. You know, they're doing that now, the electric companies. So when I go to work, I've been instructed in the mornings, 3 a.m. when we start opening, we have a schedule of when we turn on our equipment over time for the hour that we're opening, so that we don't spike the electric energy up in one moment when we turn everything on. And the reason is because the electric company's looking at the biggest spike of the day, and they're saying, all right, we're going to charge you according to that. So they're not charging for your usage anymore. They're charging you for your peak hour or peak moment, peak 15-minute period or whatever. So when you blow dry your hair in the morning, you're probably getting a big charge for that, especially if you're running a curling iron at the same time, which, Richie, I know you do every day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to add something for the employees of the power companies out there, too. You guys that are working on this, there's a couple things that you should know. Number one is that you're working with these meters and putting them on. You're exposing yourself to this radiation, and if you think we're joking, check it out. Go look at it. You're putting yourself at risk. Is the job worth it? Actually putting your health at risk? Secondarily, and luckily it's not going to happen with me, but if I owned a home right now and you tried to come on my property, you'd be in a world of scat. Because it's my property, not the electric company's. And if you already have a meter on that house, because it was there when I bought it, you got no business coming on my property. And that's just me talking. I'm only one guy in the world.
So
but you wouldn't get on there too easily.
So you're saying that would create a scatological event?
Yeah, I would think so.
All right.
In my particular situation, yeah. I mean, if they forced the issue, I'd ask them to leave nicely. I'm not a violent person, but I'm certainly not going to be pushed around either.
So I really wanted to get into another element of this asymmetrical warfare, electronic surveillance and destruction system, biological destruction system. There is another whole genre of the same thing, and it's called the 5G networks coming out for cell phones and things. Like I said in the beginning of the show, you've been running on a 3G or 4G network with Sprint, AT&T, Verizon, whomever, and they are upgrading the system now, getting ready to test. Actually, they started some testing this year of the 5G network, which they actually have to build a whole new infrastructure for, a lot more cell towers at a closer distance. But this burst of energy has enormous implications for us physically and physiologically and biologically, and there are so many warnings coming out. So if you want to do a search on it, there's not much out about it right now, but there are people who are exposing it. 5G networks, harmful impacts or something like that. Do a search on that. I wanted to play you a video, but I don't have time today. But this is another criminal act by the governments posing as corporate America, providing you with yet another surveillance device, your cell phone, which is listening to you, recording you, and all day long, everything you're doing, just like the smart meter does, and sending out information even when it's turned off.
I got a question for you, though, Tim.
Yep.
Are you suggesting that the power company is putting the surveillance equipment on your house and that the government is not doing anything to stop them? Are you saying that?
I'm saying the government is ordering and designing the system and asking the electric company to do their dirty work for them.
Kind of makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, sort of routine for our current
Yeah, that's
level
because
of government.
we pay our government officials to protect our rights, so, wait a minute, that means they're not doing that. Yeah, they're not protecting our rights. Corporate America's at it again, huh? In conjunction with government. You think that's corruption? Collusion? I do.
Okay, so I want to play this little 4-minute, 5-minute video. This is an Alex Jones clip, and it is, we've talked about this before, the pedophilia that's happening in America. This is another event where 84 children were rescued from child trafficking and pedophilia, and you're not hearing a damn thing about it in the news. Why is that? Why is the mainstream media protecting and hiding this whole stuff from you? I see we got 10 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and get this started and let you
Yeah,
guys
this is the
watch
tip of the iceberg, too.
Sure is, yep. Oh, I forgot I left the, hold on. I got the mute button going.
What's insane is there's almost no mainstream news coverage of it because the establishment is in on it. We know who runs this global government cult, and they are pedophiles and even worse. It's been said the devil's greatest trick was convincing the world that he didn't exist. Now, whether you believe in the devil or not, evil exists on this planet. And the glue that welds together this globalist, one-world psychopathic system is the exploitation of men, women, and most importantly, children. We all know from history books that every ancient culture in different periods engaged in human sacrifice, and mainly of children. This has manifested throughout every culture and every time during pre-collapse periods. Camille Paglia and other historians have written extensively on this, and it's historical fact. And since President Trump got into office close to 10 months ago, we have seen record numbers of bust, not just of people looking at child porn, but of actual traffickers, of actual kidnappers, of people that have children in their hands. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But first off, we've seen the deputy pope arrested for reportedly kidnapping over 100 children over 40 years and trafficking them. We've seen the previous pope step down amidst another giant child trafficking scandal and reported blackmail operation. We've seen Sandusky and his son indicted and convicted. We've seen countless reports of high-level judges and politicians and people in both parties getting busted, soliciting sex from sometimes children as young as 6 months old. And now from our Hollywood sources and major filmmakers, we're learning that the Weinstein debacle and fiasco and nightmare is only the tip of the iceberg, and that below that is the giant pedophile army, and below that the true Satanism that goes on at the bottom of this filthy rabbit hole. And that takes us to today's news. And this is happening every couple days. We're seeing reports like this, and it comes out in local news, but gets almost no national news coverage, no matter how horrific or how sensational. This is from 9 News out of Denver. FBI helps rescue 84 children from sex trafficking. It's gotten almost no coverage here in the United States, but it's big news in France and Russia and Japan. Some of the children that were being exploited were 3 months to 5 years of age, being proffered for sex. Again, they rescued 84 children, some of them as young as 3 months, being pimped out at places like restaurants and truck stops all over the United States. This is industrial level. This is even retail level, where the general public's getting involved in this. This is widespread. That's why we've seen Salon and all these other big leftist publications, the New York Times, come out and basically defend pedophilia, why the UN's defended it. That's why they've created fake Pizzagate stories that they claim we created, so they can then claim there's no such thing as pedophilia going on in the world, when the truth is they've busted British prime ministers and world leaders involved in Satanism and killing children, not just raping them. The good news is, thanks to President Trump and many other great patriots around the world, from Australia to England to the U.S. to Canada, the pedophile rings are being busted at record levels. But they're running mainstream news articles claiming that we've made it up and that there is no pedophile phenomenon and there is no roundup taking place. The individuals covering this up are either incredibly stupid or they're collaborating, ladies and gentlemen. Bottom line, there is an attack on innocence in this world, and InfoWars is fighting it. And when you spread the word about our shows and spread our live links and spread our articles and spread this report, you are standing directly against these evil organizations and groups that exploit our children, and you are standing for humanity and a future. So I salute you and thank you all for your support of the InfoWar. Now more than ever, spread the word, because the globalists are trying to block our transmissions.
All right, there you have it. What he didn't mention, but I saw it on the tape there, we got 5 minutes, Richie, is there was 180 arrests in the process of saving those 80-some children. And how come you didn't hear that on the mainstream media? Oh, that's right, he just said, if they're not reporting it, they're probably protecting it. So collusion, involvement, it just goes, it's rampant throughout our government and through the higher parts of corporate America. And so we are at the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see a lot more about this in the coming near future. So
Yeah, the House of Cards
yourself.
is coming down.
Yep.
There's been thousands of arrests already since Trump became in, and I got to believe that he's behind it. But I also believe that the good people that we have in our government are also working with him to accomplish this. And it's the tip of the iceberg. It's sad to say, but there are hundreds of thousands of pedophiles, traffickers, lowlights. I mean, they should let some of these people out of the prison that don't belong there, like Jerry DeLemus and Greg Burleson and others out there from the Bundy crowd, and put these people in prison because they belong there. They're physically hurting people. They're creating victims. They need to be put away. And they will be. Just a matter of time.
Oh, I wanted to try to find that movie that just came out. There was a movie, a documentary on...
Well, no, it was a movie that they were going to put out, and Hollywood stopped them, I guess.
Yeah, they were
So
blocked.
he said, I'll put it out for free.
Yeah, so it's been out. It's already had 50 million views, and it is on Alex Jones' site, but I can't pull it up quick enough to show it to you. But it's really well done. It was a good amount of money spent on it, but it's another fantastic documentary on how rampant and pervasive this whole human trafficking, child trafficking, and pedophilia industry and business permeates our society as well as other societies around the world. Did you know that Putin, President Putin over there in Russia, he outlawed adopting children from his country over to the United States? Why would he do that? He did it because pedophilia is rampant in this country, and he doesn't want the children of his country being taken over to the United States to go be adopted into servitude and in sex slavery type of environments. So there you have it. What else we got?
They villainized Putin, but he's not quite the guy they're making him out to be.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Democrats who were attacking Trump over this whole Russian collusion thing are all guilty of everything and more that they're accusing Trump of being guilty for, and it's all coming out. We should have done a little report on that, but we didn't have time. But the whole thing, the whole house of cards is falling apart because, as reported 2 years ago, Hillary and Podesta and Obama sold 20% of our uranium assets in this country to Russian companies, and they did so in secret, and they did so at the expense of people like Jerry DeLemus from our state, who's a great patriot, but the Bundy Ranch was all about that sort of thing, and I forget the other one up north.
Harry Reid was involved.
Yeah,
with
Harry
that,
Reid's
instrumental
involved.
in that,
So
too.
it's just ongoing, out in the open crimes. They hide things in the light of day because we are just asleep. So we got to wake up. We got to take our country back. You've got to get involved. So sitting on the couch is no longer acceptable. Sorry to inform you of that. The new rules are get involved, take a stand, educate yourself, do anything. You know, we've had a couple groups together, and we found that it didn't even matter if we added one person to the group. It created a new dynamic. It added one more set of skills, so one person can really make a difference, and it's time for everyone to stand up, take charge. All right?
Yeah, defending the Republic is not a spectator sport anymore. We can't afford to have it a spectator sport. I would like to ask you to please look up nationallibertyalliance.org and get involved with their efforts. At least give them the next 12 months of your life. They deserve that much, and with your effort, they'll prove themselves.
National Liberty Alliance has a fantastic civics course which you or your children can take. It is 100 and some hours of free instruction that will actually inform you about the hidden history of this country and the structure, the true nature of what the Founding Fathers had intended, and why American exceptionalism is not about the people, it's about the structure of the country. They took the pyramid, Richie showed you, the pyramid upside down of a dictator ruling over everyone to where you, the people, were on top. You were the ruler, you were the sovereign. You're the one that had the authority to dictate how the servants in government would serve you for your needs, and they would be limited in their process, but that's all been turned on its head. So
The only other thing I'd like to add to this is please share this video with people, even if it's people you don't think are interested in watching it. And I'm trying to get the message out that National Liberty Alliance needs the help, but also that we're in a serious situation and we need people, Americans, to stand up. Not Democrats or Republicans, not liberals or conservatives, Americans, to stand behind the Constitution. It is the document. It is the law. Your opinion and my opinion mean only something to you or me. It has nothing to do with the law.
thank you for tuning in. This is Inform New Hampshire. My name is Dean, and this is Richie. We're happy to be here serving you with news and information that you don't hear in the mainstream media. Hope you'll tune in next week. Thank you.